Welcome to the session on AI Agentic Framework. Well, there's been a lot of buzz on this, so we thought let's try to kind of elucidate on this particular topic a little bit. Here we'll deal with some of the basics, like what are AI agents, what is an AI Agentic Framework, and try to be talk in a little bit of a layman's term. From there, we'll focus on enterprise AI and our view on AI agentic framework for enterprises because we, as part of Aigentic, is completely focused on enterprises. So let's start with answering the question, what are AI agents? Uh, an AI agent is an autonomous or semi-autonomous software entity that perceives its environment, processes information, and takes action to achieve specific goals using artificial intelligence techniques. I think that's typically the most kind of brief and distinct definition that you can have. Here to focus on autonomous, it's kind of uh, doesn't need to be operated by something. It can actually sense its environment and based upon the observations or the inferences, uh, it can take an appropriate action. So that's what a very high level AI agent is. And as we have defined, you can see the key characteristics out here. The first is kind of perception. It gathers input from external sources, internal and external sources, sensors, databases, APIs, user queries. So this is what typically you can consider it as an enterprise environment. It will kind of from that enterprise environment or environment specific to that enterprise, it will gather the inputs. Based on the inputs, it will do an inferencing. That inferencing is where it applies reasoning or the chain of thoughts, the way human think, break up a bigger problem into smaller problems and kind of try to correlate each other. And based upon that, do a decision, arrive at a decision, and execute an action corresponding to that particular decision. And then over a period of time, learn from its learn from itself, and then adapt accordingly. So this is typically the key characteristics. There are a couple of types of agents. This is a slightly theoretic, like there can be reactive agents who respond instantly based on predefined rules, deliberative agents who can plan actions using AI models or logic-based reasoning. They're multi-agent systems where basically a bigger system can be kind of broken down into smaller agents, and these agents interact within each other as it happens within a business context where there are business entities and then there are interactions between those entities which achieve a particular business process. Similarly, a multi-agent system can kind of achieve that. And then cognitive agent is basically human-like chain of thought kind of a reasoning where it breaks down a bigger problem into multiple smaller problems and there are correlations between those problems and it tries to solve it accordingly. Um, Now let's talk about Aigentic framework, or rather the agentic framework, AI agentic framework. So in this particular case, there is an end user who puts a request or a query. It can be a human, it can be a system, it can be another agent, whatever it is. And then that request is put through to an AI agent. The agent does multimodal perception. What that means is that it can kind of consume information from kind of video feed, text feed, audio feed, or sensor data, kind of stream data. Based upon that, it does cognition. The cognition can be based on an existing from the perception data along with the existing memory, the knowledge base that is had, and based upon that, it comes to a decision. And corresponding to the decision, it takes an appropriate action. And that action can be on a real world physical action or input to another agent who is then put to work. Then the question comes is what is an enterprise AI and what are corporate AI agents? Now, typically, you might have seen ChatGPT, which is typically a B2C scenario. It's for individuals. It's a personal assistant, and I think most of us have used it, and it works perfectly fine, and it improves the quality of our life until unless somebody has a kind of issue with that. It definitely improves the quality of life. However, when it comes to enterprise, like the popular Gen AI tools are built on public data and does not work well on internal enterprise data because they do not have availability to that. Uh, every enterprise is unique. To stay ahead of the curve, they need to have a custom AI strategy. If enterprise A and enterprise B follows kind of uses the same product, which is kind of behaves in the same way, there is no differentiation in their case. Uh, now, the other important part is the bigger enterprises need the AI data sets to be strictly within their control. Control from outside access, as well as it needs to be fine grained with respect to the internal accesses as well. So that's what we are talking about. There can be corporate AI agents, which needs to be customized to the individual needs of the kind of enterprises. They can either be LLM based or it might as well be non-LLM based. It might be a traditional AI. While a lot of agentic definition tries to say that everything is done through an LLM, uh, we do not necessarily believe in that. We are looking at a holistic approach to the overall AI ecosystem, and there can be agents which are LLM based or which can make use of the traditional AI, the MLs and the DLs, means machine learning, deep learning, and all other AI algorithms and stuff like that. Uh, so, uh, so typically, like I mean, so when you're talking about classification, segmentation, and things like that, it may or may not necessarily need to be based on an LLM. Now, these AI agents need to kind of have access to real-time data or the enterprise data. So that's something that happens through tools, which interacts with the enterprise or the third parties. Uh, and these are basically kind of fetched from the AI enterprises, or basically the enterprises which are enabled through AI. So this at a high level is what we are talking about as enterprise AI. That is AI customized to the specific needs of the enterprises. The existing enterprise processes are being put into a workflow, which is kind of defined in an agentic framework, which is basically define a workflow which makes use of agents. One agent might be talking to multiple other agents, and the agents itself kind of makes use of the existing knowledge or existing memory or existing database or existing enterprise data through tools. So that's what we kind of try to define as enterprise AI. Extending this and kind of defining a agentic framework, and this is how we look at it. There are enterprise apps, there's enterprise data, and we need to kind of do enterprise application integration. There might be other applications. There might be your ERP, there might be your CRM and stuff like that. So we need to integrate with that. And then basically what you are saying is IO. At times there is one agent giving data to other, or at sometimes there might be a user, which might be a physical user or a system user interacting with the agents. Now, they give the data. In case of LLMs, they are prompts. The same LLM model can act or behave differently depending upon the prompts, which typically explains the context, the role that a particular agent is playing. And based on that, the LLMs kind of behave differently. So that's what the prompts are. And by changing those prompts, we can change the behavior of an agent. So typically, then it comes to through a kind of through an API gateway or through APIs, we basically would like to interact either between agents or with agents with the existing uh, kind of agentic workflow, which in turn is something which is working within an enterprise. And to make use of enterprise specific data, there is a tools registry uh, or a tools inventory, whatever you like to call it as. Uh, to show a demo of how the framework can be implemented, we have created a demo React agent on a normal shopping cart function of an e-commerce site. So before going further, let's get to understand what is React. Let's take a cursory look at a research paper. Just give me a moment. So this is the typical React research paper. What they talk about is that I think earlier kind of AI agents would either reason things out, or basically they will take kind of be reactive and take actions. Uh, and now basically taking it forward, kind of combining both the reasoning and the action. So this paper tries to kind of evaluate the capabilities of the existing LLMs in doing that. So we have tried to kind of use a similar React agent, and we'll talk about more about that in probably a separate session. Here, our objective is to kind of show you how we have set out the Aigentic framework, which we can implement in enterprises. So we have interactive capabilities of large language models through ChatGPT and other. But this research paper explores chain of thought, observation and action cycle. That is, in a layman term, the power to think like a human, breaking a bigger problem into simpler ones, and then take requisite action based on the understanding. Let's take a look at the code structure which we have implemented for the Aigentic framework. So the first thing, uh, out here is basically the agent. Let's try to correlate this with the diagram we had shown. So first thing is basically an agent that you see out here. Now, that is something which is defined by this agent class, and then it kind of gives or sets its own context. Based on a prompt, it kind of sets a role in the context accordingly, and then executes the action. The next is typically the prompt. This is how the prompt is given, and you can differ the prompt to kind of expect or kind of deduce or induce a agent to kind of behave, or induce a LLM to behave differently. That's why we get different kind of agents out of that. After that, we have tools which typically are ways in which an agentic behavior can be synergized with data and information and knowledge base of the enterprises. So here we are trying to kind of get the cost of a product. We will kind of pass on a shopping cart. Uh, and the shopping cart has the products and the number of units. So first we'll basically get the cost of the unit price of the products, and then based upon that do the calculation and come up with the overall shopping cart. Henceforth, I think this particular example will be extended to incorporate a promotion agent, a tax agent, and everything, and calculate the shopping cart value accordingly. Uh, Now, I mean, how does this kind of this tools is basically an inventory or a registry which kind of gets the enterprise data. The enterprise data might be in databases or anywhere else. So what we have tried to do is that we have tried to create a ORM kind of a layer which replicates the business entities and the interaction between those entities. In this particular case, we have a business entity called product, and interaction, which is pricing of that particular product. And then these are kind of exposed as enterprise APIs, which are basically like get price API, and we can kind of do a layer, enterprise API layer. Now, the AI agent or its workflow, agentic workflow, will make a call to this enterprise API layer, take the data. The agents themselves will be exposed as separate APIs so that they can be integrated with the line of business application, or in a multi-agentic scenario, multi-agentic environment, they might be calling each other via APIs. So one agent exposes an API, can pass or consume information, data, decision, whatever it is, with another agent or with the external environment or the line of business applications within the system. So like this is now, as you see, what was the diagram and whatever we have tried to explain. Now, just going a little bit further, here what you see is typically the enterprise API. We have exposed that as an API, and it is kind of running at a endpoint port number 5001 on the local machine. And then the API itself has been exposed. The agent itself has been exposed as an API, which is running on a different port, once again on the development machine on 5000. And now let us just for a demo make a call to this agent API and see how it behaves. So here you see this is basically the query API, which will query the agent. What we pass is basically one is a prompt. And the second thing is a shopping cart. The shopping cart has typically the product and a number of quantities. That is how in the JSON format. And we had run it earlier, and we had ordered for 3 erasers and 3 geometry boxes, and it returned the value to be $750. Now let us just make a change to it, and let's say we do two erasers and 3 geometry boxes, and I'm not going to show you the actual result. I mean, I'm going to show you the actual result, but I'm not going to dig into a database to kind of prove the theory, because it's kind of it's pretty normal, and that can happen. So as you say, in this particular case, it's 700. So as you can make it out that the eraser is around $50. It was actually in INR terms, so obviously an eraser of $50 is very high. Um, so this is how it, and then okay, let's kind of change the geometry boxes from 3 to 2. We'll figure out like how much the geometry box actually costs. Yeah, the 700 value comes down to 500. That means the geometry box costs around $200 each. Once again, I think that's pretty costly because I have put it in INR terms, but it's kind of displayed in dollar terms out here. So that's pretty much what we define as the Aigentic framework. Uh, or Aigentic framework that we recommend for businesses, and which can work. The only thing that will change out here is basically the prompts, if it is a LLM based agent, and the agent type. And if it is a non-LLM based agent, which is a typical traditional AI, a machine learning, or a deep learning thing, then it will be kind of exposed as API or AI as a service, AI and accordingly the entire synergy will happen. So that way, if you can think any enterprise business process which is unique to an enterprise can be architected as a workflow, as an autonomous workflow where the existing business process can operate or can kind of continue without any external hindrance or any external intervention, and take decisions appropriate to a particular inference, and this inferencing or decision making process, which is a kind of enabled or an additional feature enabled by a AI agent, or basically that's what the contribution of AI is. Earlier, I think if you look at the automation scenario, we used to say that the mundane, repeatable things which doesn't need a kind of application of mind or or a decision making. It's all rule based, which follows a particular defined pattern or a rule based pattern. That is something that can be automated. But we have gone further. Means instead of RPA, we used to talk about the IPA or intelligent process automation. We are actually culminating into that, where we have cognitive agents who have cognitive capability to make decisions autonomously, and that's where the AI agentic framework is, or that is why as an agentic we define a agentic enterprise framework customized to the individual enterprises. Thanks a lot. See you once again in the next session.